Let us be among the first to wish you all a happy college basketball season, Big East Hoops followers. John Fanta here to tip off a new year of Big East Shoot-Around. The march to Madison Square Garden, where we'll be for the Big East tournament, it is on, and it starts tonight with the Big East opening night tip-off on FS1. Coverage beginning at 6:30 Eastern Time as 8 Big East men's basketball teams will tip off their respective seasons, and you can catch whip-around coverage throughout the night on FS1. If you're looking for your specific team, whether it be the Connecticut Huskies, where I am here in downtown Hartford as they open up their season against Stonehill College at 7:30 Eastern Time, or if you want to see the Kyle Neptune era tip-off when Villanova takes on LaSalle at 6:30, or Thad Matta and Butler, Sean Miller and Xavier, you can catch your team's entire game on the Fox Sports app. So whip around coverage of the opening night tip-off on FS1 and your team's entire game on the Fox Sports app. We get that housekeeping right on the gates here on Shoot-Around to get you prepared for the opening night slate. Looking at headline number 2 here on Shoot-Around, we turn to that Kyle Neptune era beginning this evening at Villanova. It's just hard to imagine somebody other than Jay Wright on the sidelines at Villanova University. But that thought will fully sink in here tonight when Neptune walks out in the tunnel at the Finneran Pavilion, and he is leading the Wildcats. It is one of the big questions in all of college basketball. Villanova, who has gone 264-53 over the last 9 years, who has won either the Big East regular season title or the tournament crown in each of the last 9 years. If they haven't done both, is their success solely because of Wright, or will we see, after Wright, a disciple of his in Neptune be able to keep this program on the level that they've been? And the level that they've been is a blue blood level. Now, the circumstances go beyond just Neptune this season, because you lose Colin Gillespie, you lose Jermaine Samuels, and I don't think people are fully taking into account just what it means to lose a player as good as Colin Gillespie. For this Villanova team, how do they manage with Justin Moore out with the Achilles injury? How do they manage with Big East preseason freshman of the year Cam Whitmore out with a thumb injury? Whitmore's timeline still unknown, and Moore, we could see him January, February. His timeline is December, around the start of Big East play. That is a bit ambitious. So Neptune has some obstacles. He's going to need Caleb Daniels, Brandon Slater, and Eric Dixon to lead the way, and Villanova will need some of their youth to perform. I'm talking about Jordan Longino. He's got to take a step forward. Angelo Brizzi as well, Trey Patterson, and look out for a freshman guard, Mark Armstrong, to make an immediate impact. Turning to our next headline, we look at the clear frontrunner in the Big East. They are the headliner in this league, and that is the Creighton Blue Jays, ranked 9th in the AP Top 25. That is the highest that Creighton men's basketball has been ranked in an AP preseason poll in program history. Greg McDermott has such a great culture and identity. His kids know their roles. He's got the best sophomore class in America. I'm talking about Ryan Nembhard, Trey Alexander, Art Kaluma. Then you go down to the interior, and Ryan Kalkbrenner's the reigning Big East Defensive Player of the Year. All these pieces and parts, and McDermott made one of the biggest splashes in the transfer portal this past offseason, bringing in reigning Summit League Player of the Year Baylor Shireman, who comes to his home state of Nebraska to finish out his college career. It's all on the table for Creighton this season, and they've got a ruckus fan base behind them as they open up their season this evening as part of the opening night tip-off. That'll come your way 8:30 Eastern Time against St. Thomas. I got a chance in the preseason to sit down with Mac, who's in his 13th year at the helm of the Creighton Blue Jays. And we had some lunch bites and some basketball talk. Here's that convo. We're sitting down at an Omaha staple, the Mat, the old mattress factory, with the 13th year head coach of the Creighton Blue Jays, Greg McDermott. Mac, a Browns and a Steeler fan, sit down for lunch together in September.
It doesn't happen very often, especially when we're both 1-0.
It does not happen often in Cleveland. It's been since 2004. I was 9 for 1-0.
Yeah, I wasn't 9.
All right, let's talk. Last season, the consensus was Well, they've got some retooling to do just based on what they lost, and all you do is make it to a Big East championship game and a round of 32 after a thrilling win over San Diego State. What did last year tell you about your group of guys?
Well, we did have a lot of retooling to do. If you go back to the games in November and December, they had to play through mistakes. And because they played through mistakes, they were much better prepared for what was going to happen in February and March. This group has not been afraid to put in the extra work outside of practice time. And I think that really showed its face when we got into late February and March and played some of our best basketball.
Alexander willing it up over Poly. Creighton opens the month of February with a resume booster and a signature win at Connecticut.
I had you at UConn on February 1st. We look at moments in the season. How much did that win at Connecticut serve as a bit of a launching pad for your group?
I really think it was key. That particular game, Kalkbrenner gets hurt 5 minutes into the second half. And I think that gave our guys some confidence that, we can play through some adversity. You beat a good team on the road, but you also beat a good team on the road without your rim protector, really the anchor of your defense. And I think that really, to your point, springboarded us for some things that happened after that.
And the Big East Defensive Player of the Year. There's no defending these.
There isn't. No,
what are these?
They have no chance. Those look like cheese curds to me. You against the cheese curds, I'm picking you.
That'll be one of the few. It wasn't in horse.
No, I think you had trouble in horse.
The dynamic of Ryan Nembhard going down when he did. Trey Alexander comes in and does an incredible job. How excited are you to now see how the two of them can shake out together?
Yeah, and a healthy Sharif Mitchell back. We lose Nembhard, and to Trey's credit, early in the season he wasn't playing any point guard. Obviously, we used him some as the season went on. He just stepped in, and his demeanor, the way he carries himself, I think launched him into a whole different hemisphere in terms of what he's capable of. The two of them together obviously are very, very talented, and as I mentioned, with guys like John Christophoulos, Ben Schultzberg, Francisco Farabello, Sharif Mitchell, we've got great depth there as well.
This is year 10 in the Big East Conference for the Creighton Blue Jays.
I mean, it's hard to believe. It's obviously the Big East has been great for our institution and for our athletic department and our community. And I'd like to think we've brought some value to the Big East as well. This is a basketball place. Obviously, when you come here, you're going to play in front of a great fan base.
How much do you value the fact that you are an elder statesman in this league?
I don't like to be old, John, if that's what you're asking me. Do you like being old? No, but I've been at it a while. Been really impressed with how the coaches have worked together and stuck together. Obviously, Jay Wright was certainly was a guy that led the charge in that regard, and now we have to make sure it continues to go that direction. I think it's one of the best leagues in the country, and we have to make sure it stays that way.
If you didn't have a life in basketball, what on earth would you do?
I'm going to play a lot of golf to start when the time comes. I can't make a living doing it, but
maybe tour.
It just depends how well I can negotiate on the first tee on whether I can make a living. But my dad would tell you I haven't worked a day in my life, and he's probably right. Coaching it's a labor of love. It's at the end of the day, you're still coaching young people, and they can change all the rules they want. But at the end of the day, it's you and them on the practice floor trying to prepare together to be successful, and that's the part of the job that really gets me up in the morning.
Our food has arrived. What'd you get?
Well, you got fries and 6 stacks of bacon and a double bun there, and I've got just a chicken breast with no bun and a little cottage cheese. So you got an order of cheese curds to yourself. You haven't even offered to share any with me today.
That is not true. That is very much fake news. But they're here.
They are here, and I once we get off camera, I might dig in.
I wanted to say to you too, I've received some messages from San Diego from one Coach Lavin, who's very upset that he will not be able to make it this year to Dollar Beer Night, whenever that might be. Someone has to replace the energy that Lav brought to such a big holiday in this area.
Well, it's a very thorough interview process to be in a position to be able to represent Fox on Dollar Beer Night in Omaha. He kind of backed into the deal. At the time, we didn't have anybody else. That's why he got there to begin with. But
is that how he's done everything in his?
Pretty much. I'm wondering how he got this San Diego job, but he's back where he belongs. The guy needs to be coaching young people. He's terrific in that regard, and San Diego hit a home run.
Let's dig in.
Thanks, John.
At the Old Mattress Factory, that is Greg McDermott.
Back here on Big East Shoot-Around, I'm outside the XL Center ahead of UConn's opener against Stonehill College, 7:30 Eastern Time, FS1. Pardon the opening night tip-off, and we want to thank Greg McDermott for the time in Omaha earlier this fall. Those cheese curds, they delivered. Now, we've got the mailbox open, and we are going to be featuring your tweets, your questions, your comments, whatever you've got throughout the season. I asked you for your questions ahead of the season openers. We got a ton. I've picked the best. Let's pull out the iPhone 12, which has not crashed yet. It might be in mid-season form right now. That is a big step in the right direction. Chris Altruda asks, who is the team with the biggest potential upside from where it is now to where it could be in March? I thought long and hard about this. And the way that I look at it is, you got 4 new head coaches in the Big East. Kyle Neptune at Villanova, Thad Matta at Butler, Sean Miller at Xavier, all 3 of which are in action tonight. I go to South Orange, though. Shaheen Holloway at Seton Hall. I feel like Seton Hall, where they will be on Wednesday night when they open the season against Monmouth, is not where they're going to be in March, because you've got role allocation to do. You've got a lot of new faces. Casey Nadefo from St. Peter's, Alamir Dawes from Clemson. They've got Femi Odukale from Pittsburgh, and the list goes on with the newcomers to the Pirates. You combine that with the returnees and Tyrese Samuel, as well as Alexis Yetna and Kadari Richmond, there's things to be figured out. But they've got the king of last March Madness as their leader now. Shaheen Holloway certainly knows what March success looks like, both as a player, took Seton Hall to a Sweet 16, and as a coach at St. Peter's with the run of all runs going to an Elite 8 last March. I think when you combine all of that, all of those ingredients with the amount of new that's in place with the Pirates, that's why they will be a different team come March and a dangerous team, because they will defend and they will play you tough. Question number 2. Jason Burgess asks, how big is the gap between the top 3 and the next 6 in the Big East? Really good question, Jason. I like this question. So here's the deal. We got to put respect on Creighton's name. The gap is clear between them and everybody else. Creighton is the clear number 1 in the Big East because of the experience factor. They know who they are, and they've got an experienced head coach who knows how to win. I think after the Blue Jays, I don't think Villanova is a clear 2. Look out for Xavier. Look out for what Sean Miller can do in his first year. The key for Xavier is that point guard battle between Sule Boom and Desmond Claude. But Kobe Jones, Zach Fremantle, and Jack Nungy are big time. And Adam Kunkel's back, too, as a sharpshooter. So the gap between the top 3 and then the next 6, folks, it's anybody's game on any given night in this conference. I think you can package Seton Hall, Butler, St. John's, Providence, and Marquette all together. I think the top 4 are somewhat clear. I think you've got Creighton, Villanova, or Xavier, as well as UConn. This Connecticut team could be dangerous if they figure out things on the perimeter. So I don't think there's much of a gap. I think in the Big East this year, parity is going to be real. That's why putting together November results is so important for the conference. Thank you, Jason Burgess, for your question. Let's get to Brendan Brophy. With Jay Wright's absence, how much of that will have an effect on Villanova? We're going to find out starting tonight when the Big East opening night tip-off gets going on FS1, 6:30 Eastern Time. You can catch the whole game on the Fox Sports app. What does Villanova look like? And as much as they lost Jay Wright, they also lost Gillespie. Point guard play has been the common thread to Villanova's success over the years, to 3 Final Four appearances in a span of 6 seasons. So I think the fans are ready here in Hartford for basketball season as we're ramping up here outside the XL Center. I'm really curious to see what Villanova looks like here this year. Cody Thompson, what team will be the surprise during the first half of the season like Marquette last year? Now, I thought long and hard about this too, because Marquette did surprise a lot of people. I'm going to go with Butler. I look at Butler with Chuck Harris, with Simas Lukosius. Butler was lacking rim protection. They now have that in the form of Manny Bates, the NC State transfer. And if Manny Bates stays healthy, he could be a real factor for the Butler Bulldogs, and he's a guy that I expect to have a big year. Ali's an Akron transfer who should step up, is one of the most underrated guards in the Big East Conference, the Purdue transfer. The point, I think Butler's got some pieces. They have a nice blend of new and returnees. And Thad Matta, folks, if Thad Matta took the Butler job 5 years ago, we'd be saying it's the Grand Slam hire for Butler. It's a dream scenario. We're not saying it the same because Thad has not been on the sidelines in 5 years. The man has still won close to 75% of the games he's coached in. I'm betting on winning, and I'm looking at what Matta's pedigree is. I'm looking at what Butler's pedigree has been for the most part. I think the Bulldogs are a sleeper team in the Big East. And don't be surprised, to your question here, who asked that question, do not be surprised if Cody Marquette ends up being a sleeper again. Cam Jones, all Big East first team caliber. Mark it down for me right here on November the 7th ahead of opening night. It's going to be rocking at the XL Center in Hartford and 7 other venues around Big East men's basketball because college hoops is back. And while other conferences are still focused on pigskin, here in Hartford and all up and down the East Coast, and then in Omaha and Milwaukee, Indy, Cincy, and Chicago, they're thinking about basketball all day, every day, and it's going down here tonight. We have been happy to set the stage for you, and we'll be setting the stage for you all season long on Shoot-Around. Catch the opening night tip-off on FS1 starting at 6:30 Eastern Time, and check out your full game over on the Fox Sports app. The victory honking has already started. I'm John Fanta. So long for now.